So I'm taking my Shahada today. 2 o'clock today. 2 o'clock today. Oh my goodness. And of course, I will be filming it and showing you guys.
So Shahada is basically you testifying that Allah is the only God and Muhammad is his prophet. So when you do the Shahada, you basically become a Muslim.
Yeah.
In Islam, we're just going to repeat in Arabic, and then we'll do it in English, inshallah. So we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And if you're coming from Christian background, we also say Isa, Jesus, son of Mary. Son of Mary. He is also Rasulullah. He's also a messenger. So what we have just said is that I testify that there is no God worthy of worship. No object worthy of worship. No deity worthy of worship. Except Allah alone. And that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the final prophet and messenger. And alhamdulillah, you have entered into Islam. This is the best moment of your life. May Allah increase you in knowledge.
So it's interesting. So he added something to her testimony. She testified that Allah is the only God worthy of worship, and also that Muhammad is the prophet. So that's the shahadat. But because she comes from a Christian background, she also had to add that Jesus is also a prophet, a messenger of Allah, because not God himself, not the son of God himself. But now that's basically all you have to do to become a Muslim. By the way, guys, do you want to do the shahadat here on the show? Anybody wants to do the shahadat and become a Muslim here? Okay, so this is what you say. Okay, you say Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. So if I really meant that, that would make me a Muslim, but I didn't mean it. So it didn't work. So just saying it is not going to be good enough. You have to really mean it.
At this point, I've heard you convert and deconvert to Islam, from Islam, to and from so many times. It's like you're an apostate no matter what you do, you know?
Yeah, that's in and out, in and out. All right, let's look at this one.
Oh my gosh. The Quran is telling men to spend money on women. Yalla Habibi, come to Islam. It says here in Al-Nisa, number 34, men are protectors of women because God has made some of them excel others and because they spend their wealth on them. Yalla Habibi, come to Islam. It's so nice over here. And also, and give the women their dowries willingly, but if they of their own accord remit any part of it to you, you may make use of it. You have to pay women their dowry. Pay women, give them their money. This is so incredible. I have never heard of a religion that upholds women to such an amazing level and encouraging the men to protect them, to provide for them, to take care of them. Islam is at the top for women's rights and giving women a very high status in society.
All right, what do you guys think about that?
I think this is a troll.
Like
this is just someone trolling.
Every single sentence she says, I was just completely shocked. Every single sentence. Like that Islam cares for women's rights, or that it's written for to the men to give money to the women. Well, technically you have to give the dowry, but for example, when your parents pass out, your brothers get twice as much as the inheritance than the woman. And it is said also that the man is the protector, but he's also the he's the ruler in the house. So you can't really do anything without his permission because he's the ruler of the house.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly in the verse. I'm going to mention the verse that she mentioned. I mean, your Anna is a lot more knowledgeable on Islam than she is, but she's not a troll, Vikram. Not at all. She's pretty serious. She has an entire channel, TikTok and Instagram dedicated to teaching people about Islam. She's pretty serious about this. She's becoming famous as well.
If you were to ask me, If someone wanted to make a massive troll on TikTok about Islam, what should they do? I'd say to do what she did.
It's hard to it's hard to distinguish between trolls and actual stupid people, but this one unfortunately is not a troll. Anna, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to add about like women's rights in Islam. The like in a courthouse, for example, you can't trust the testimony of a woman as much of a man, and the testimony of women is twice less valuable, less credible than the testimony of men. And as far as I know, in very serious crimes, for example, like adultery is considered serious. Four men have to testify, but it is impossible to bring eight women because hudud crimes are like they need more credibility.
Yeah.
I saw in some Shia sources that you can bring maybe three men and two women, which is also a stretch. But basically, in hudud crimes, women can't testimony, and that includes adultery, like rape, everything I
Yes,
can't say.
yes. And I mean, this is the very verse that she mentioned is a verse that tells you to beat women. Like she didn't read the entire verse. Like, okay, let me bring her back up.
Oh my gosh. The Quran is telling men to spend money on women. Yalla Habibi, come to Islam. It says here in Al Nisa, number 34.
Al Nisa number 34. That's one of the most famous verses in the Quran, that is basically about wife beating, but she doesn't read the verse completely. I mean, she must have read the whole verse. She wouldn't just read the first part of the verse and not read the rest of it. So she must have read the entire thing, but she's choosing to only mention the first part. So why is she not reading is she not reading the entire thing on purpose? Because that is a verse that tells you, so look at how she's interpreting it. The verse is telling you that men are superior to women. That's what the verse says. And then it says the reason why men are superior to women is because men spend they work and they make money and provide for women. So she's like, oh my God, this is so pro woman. It's telling men to provide for women. Like, imagine that. Imagine a verse that is saying men are the protectors of women because men are superior. And the reason why men are superior is that they are the ones who provide. And she's like, oh, men should provide? Isn't that great? The Quranic verse is telling men to provide. And then the verse continues by saying, should I show this verse on the screen? Because a lot of people might not believe
Yeah,
me that I'm
I
saying
think
this.
it's better if you show the surah, the verse. Like the entire surah is pretty much anti women. The entire surah
Yeah.
you can find a lot of things that are
Can I just say
definitely
one
not
thing?
pro
Sorry.
women.
Yeah,
I'll
go
just say
ahead.
one thing about this. I feel like if she really wants to make that point clear, she should be like, guys, Islam tells you to donate to women, to give your money to women. So here's a link to my OnlyFans. Go and subscribe and be good Muslims.
So yeah, so here's again, I'm not making this up. This is Nisa for 34, the one that she mentions. I have like a couple of different translations. So Abdul Halim is good, Pictal is good, and Sahih International. These are the main ones that people go to, right? So let's look at all the translations. Men are in charge of women, right? Husbands should take care of their wives. Okay, men are in charge of women. So these are the translations. Okay, and this one, Abdul Halim is saying men should take care of their wives, but so al rijal, which is men, protectors, alal nisa. So men are protectors of women. Okay, so not some people translate it they're in charge of women. Some people are saying that they're the caretaker of women. But why? Because Allah has given one over the other, and they spend for maintenance from their wealth. Okay, so and this one says God has given some more than the other. So basically, it says men are the protectors of women because God has given one of us, which is the men, more than the other one. So we are basically better. Men are in charge of women because Allah has made one of them excel the other. So men excel women, right? So again, why is the reason? Why do men excel women? Because they spend from their wealth. So basically, we are the men are the providers. So she is focusing on this part that men are the providers, and she's like, oh my God, this is so pro women because God is telling men to spend on women. But like, she doesn't focus on the part that is saying like, okay, but this is God is saying this to show you why men are better, right? And then it continues. So righteous women are devotedly obedient, guarding in their husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. So basically tell them what women to be obedient. And then it continues, but those wives from whom you fear arrogance. So if you fear that some of your wives are arrogant, again, from when it says from whom you fear arrogant, is because God is talking to men. The Quran is written for a man to read, not for a woman to read. It's like the audience is mostly men. That's why it's saying talking like this. So it's giving us instructions. So if you fear arrogance, so even if she's not arrogant, but you just fear arrogance, the steps that you should take is that first advise them. So first tell them. Then if they persist, forsake them in bed. Finally, strike them. And again, here it says lightly in brackets. The reason why it says puts the lightly in brackets, because the lightly is not in the text.
What's
So everything
written
we see in
the Arabic text? What is written in the Arabic? I want to say.
Ajrabahunna.
Daraba is to beat. Daraba.
Zaraba is to beat, exactly.
Yeah, like
yes.
I'm studying Arabic and it's to beat. It's not something else.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, exactly. So let's see if the lightly here is in the text at all, right? So this one is saying, and those whom you fear ill conduct, and this one advise them, and then forsake them, basically forsake them in bed, and in bed, okay? And look, this is bed, and then va'azribahunna, strike them. There is no lightly in the original text. Let's look at the other translations. Then ignore them, and if they and then hit them. It says hit them. So this one doesn't even have the lightly version. And then also scourge them.
Yeah,
So
there is no lightly. There is no lightly in the verse. There is no lightly in the Arabic verse. At least not that I can see from here.
Yeah. Azrabahunna means hit them. So basically, this lady who's trying to convince us to come to Islam,
of women,
she's reading the verse. The verse that she's using as an example for how pro-woman Islam is the wife beating verse, which is unbelievable. Like, from all the verses to pick to show how pro-woman Islam is, to pick that one, it's, I don't know, the height of irony. I don't even know what to say.
Like the only thing worse could be maybe picking a verse about how you should treat your slaves or something like this. Maybe the only thing worse.
Yeah. Exactly.